23 years dealing blackjack in Vegas, and I'm about to tell you the 5 psychological tricks my casino trained me to use against you. The scary part. They work so well that even after I learned them, I still fell for number 3 myself. And if you're over 50, these tricks hit twice as hard for reasons most people never realize. My name's not important, but what I'm going to share with you today could save you thousands of dollars and a lot of heartache. See, I spent over 2 decades working the floor at some of the biggest casinos on the Strip. I've watched these places evolve their psychological warfare to a science, and I've seen too many good people, especially folks in their golden years, get absolutely destroyed by tactics they never saw coming. Here's what really bothers me. Casinos specifically target people our age, because they know we're vulnerable in ways younger folks aren't. We're often dealing with loneliness after losing a spouse. We might be bored in retirement, or we're just looking for some excitement and social interaction. The casinos know this, and they weaponize it against us. But today, that stops. I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how they do it. These aren't theories or guesses. This is insider knowledge from someone who was trained to use these tactics against you. And once you know what to look for, you can't unsee it. Now, before we dive in, I want to be clear about something. I'm not here to tell you never to gamble. I still enjoy a night out at the casino myself, but I go in with my eyes wide open, and after today, you will too. Because knowledge is power, and right now the casinos have all of it. So buckle up, because what I'm about to show you might change how you see gambling forever. The first trick they taught me during dealer training was probably the most important one: how to make people lose track of time completely. And let me tell you, casinos have turned this into an art form that would make a master magician jealous. Think about this for a second. When was the last time you saw a clock inside a casino? And I don't mean on someone's phone or watch, I mean an actual clock on the wall. You haven't, because there aren't any. Not one. This isn't an accident or an oversight. It's completely deliberate. During my first week of training, my supervisor took me on a tour of the casino floor. He pointed to the walls and said, "Notice anything missing?" I looked around. Beautiful artwork, flashing lights, elaborate decorations, but no clocks. He explained that clocks are the enemy of profit. The moment someone realizes they've been playing for 4 hours, instead of the 1 hour they planned, they start thinking about leaving. But it goes way deeper than just hiding clocks. Have you ever noticed that casinos don't have windows either? Or if they do, they're heavily tinted, so you can't tell if it's day or night outside. This isn't about creating ambiance. It's about creating a time bubble, where your natural rhythms get completely scrambled. Your body has an internal clock called your circadian rhythm. It's what tells you when to eat, when to sleep, when to be alert. Casinos deliberately attack this system. They pump in oxygen to keep you alert. They use specific lighting that mimics eternal twilight, and they play this subtle, looping background music that never really changes or gives you any sense of time passing. I remember one regular customer, a sweet lady named Dorothy, who came in every Tuesday. She'd always tell me she was just stopping by for an hour on her way to meet friends for lunch. But Tuesday after Tuesday, I'd see her still sitting at the same slot machine when my shift ended 8 hours later. Her friends had long since given up waiting. She had no idea how much time had passed because every environmental cue that normally helps you track time had been stripped away. The worst part is that as we get older, this time distortion hits us even harder. Our internal clocks naturally become less reliable with age. We might already struggle with sleeping patterns or keeping track of time. Casinos exploit this vulnerability ruthlessly. And here's something that'll really get you. They deliberately make it hard to find bathrooms, restaurants, and exits. Not impossible, just inconvenient enough that you'll pass dozens of games on your way. Each game you pass is another chance for them to catch your attention and pull you in for just one more hand or just one more spin. I've seen people wander around for 20 minutes trying to find a bathroom, getting more and more disoriented until they finally give up and sit down at the nearest slot machine. Mission accomplished. But wait until you hear what those patterns actually do to your brain, because once they've got you lost in time, they use trick number 2 to make sure you can't escape. And I haven't even told you about the carpet trick yet. Casinos use their second major weapon, the physical layout of the building itself. And trust me, nothing about a casino floor is accidental. Every single detail, down to the color of the carpet, is designed to separate you from your money. Let me paint you a picture of how this works. Imagine you're walking into a casino for the first time. You probably think you're just walking into a big room full of games, right? Wrong. You're walking into a carefully crafted psychological maze that took teams of architects and behavioral scientists years to perfect. First thing you'll notice, if you're paying attention, is that there are no straight paths to anywhere. You can't walk directly from the entrance to the restaurant, or from the poker room to the exit. Everything winds and curves and loops back on itself. This isn't poor design, it's brilliant design, but not for your benefit. During my training, they showed us overhead maps of the casino floor. It looked like a child's maze puzzle. The paths are deliberately confusing because the longer it takes you to get where you're going, the more games you'll walk past, and the more likely you are to stop and play something along the way. But here's where it gets really sneaky. Those carpets that look so garish and over the top, they're not trying to win design awards. They're trying to overwhelm your senses. The patterns are deliberately busy and chaotic because they create visual fatigue. When your eyes get tired from trying to process all that visual noise, your brain gets tired too. And when you're tired, you want to sit down. Guess what's conveniently located every few feet? That's right, a slot machine with a comfortable chair, just begging you to rest for a minute. But that minute turns into an hour, and that hour turns into your entire afternoon. I remember one particular carpet pattern at the casino where I worked. It had these swirling, hypnotic designs in bright reds and golds. My supervisor told me they tested 17 different patterns before settling on that one because it caused the most decision fatigue in focus groups. When people are mentally exhausted from just trying to navigate the space, they make worse decisions about money. And this hits folks in our age group especially hard. If you're dealing with mobility issues, or you just don't have the energy you used to have, that visual fatigue combined with physical tiredness makes you a sitting duck. You sit down to rest your feet, and before you know it, you're feeding money into a machine because it's easier than getting up and continuing through the maze. The bathrooms are placed strategically deep inside the casino, forcing you to walk past hundreds of games. The restaurants are tucked away in corners, accessible only through winding paths lined with slot machines. Even the exits are hidden. Try finding your way out of a major Las Vegas casino without asking for directions. I'll bet it takes you 3 times longer than you expect, but the layout tricks are just setting you up for the psychological manipulation. They want you tired, confused, and sitting down, because that makes you vulnerable to the third trick. And this is the one that got me, even knowing how it worked. Here's the scary part about why this works so well on our age group, and this next one actually rewires your brain's reward system. This is the trick that finally made me quit working in casinos. Because once I understood what we were really doing to people's brains, I couldn't be part of it anymore. And if you've ever played a slot machine, this has happened to you. You just might not have realized you were being manipulated. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been playing slots and gotten 2 matching symbols, with the third one landing just 1 space away from a big win? Made your heart race a little bit, didn't it? Made you think, oh, I was so close. The next one's got to hit. Well, congratulations. You just experienced a near miss, and it wasn't an accident. Those slot machines aren't random. I know they tell you they are, but that's not the whole truth. While the final outcome might be random, the way that outcome is displayed to you is completely controlled. The machines are programmed to show you near misses way more often than true randomness would allow. During my dealer training, they brought in a technician who services the slot machines. He explained that they calibrate the machines to show near misses about 15% of the time. In a truly random system, near misses would only happen about 3.4% of the time. But that's not exciting enough to keep you playing. Here's what's happening in your brain during a near miss, and this is backed by real neuroscience research. When those first 2 symbols line up, your brain releases a shot of dopamine. It's the same chemical that gets released when you actually win money. So even though you lost, your brain is telling you that you won. Your brain literally can't tell the difference between a near miss and a real win. The dopamine release is almost identical, so you're getting the chemical reward of winning while actually losing money. It's diabolical. And here's where it gets really personal for me. After 23 years of dealing cards, and watching this happen to thousands of people, I thought I was immune. I knew exactly how these machines worked. But about 5 years ago, I was playing slots during my break, just killing time, or so I thought. I hit a series of near misses on a machine, and despite knowing better, I found myself thinking, this machine is due. It's going to hit soon. I ended up spending my entire week's tip money chasing those fake near wins. The machine had rewired my brain just like it does to everyone else. But here's the scary part about why this works so well in our age group. As we get older, many of us are dealing with routine that can feel boring. Retirement might not be as exciting as we hoped. Daily life might feel predictable. That dopamine hit from a near miss feels amazing when you're craving some excitement. The casinos know this. They know that older adults are often seeking mental stimulation, looking for that thrill they used to get from work or raising kids. So they've turned their machines into dopamine dealers. giving you just enough of a hit to keep you coming back for more. I watched a gentleman named Frank, a retired engineer, explain to me how he had the slot machine patterns figured out. He'd been tracking his near misses and was convinced he could predict when the big win was coming. Smart guy. Decades of technical experience. But the machine had completely fooled him. He was basing his calculations on deliberately false data. The machines are also programmed to increase near misses right after you've had a big win or when you're about to stop playing. They can sense when your credits are running low or when you haven't made a bet in a few minutes, and they'll hit you with a perfectly timed near miss to keep you going. But the third trick is just softening you up for what comes next. While your brain is busy chasing that fake high, they hit you with trick number 4, and this one literally changes how your brain works. This next trick was probably the hardest one for me to learn as a dealer because it meant actively participating in getting people drunk so they'd lose more money. And make no mistake, those complimentary drinks are the most expensive beverages you'll ever consume. Let me tell you how this really works. Those cocktail waitresses who come around offering free drinks, they're not just being hospitable. They're trained to keep alcohol flowing specifically because drunk people make terrible decisions with money. And as dealers, we're coached to encourage drink orders and keep the party atmosphere going. During my training, they taught us to watch for certain behaviors that indicate someone is getting intoxicated, not so we could cut them off, but so we could speed up the game when their judgment was impaired. Slurred speech, slower reaction times, getting overly friendly. These were our cues to push harder because drunk players bet bigger and stay longer. I remember my floor supervisor pulling me aside during my first month and explaining the drunk math to me. He said, "A sober customer might play for 2 hours and lose $200. That same customer, after 3 drinks, will play for 5 hours and lose $800. Those drinks cost us maybe $15. Do the math." But here's what they don't tell you about alcohol and aging. And this is crucial information. As we get older, our bodies process alcohol differently. Our metabolism slows down. We typically weigh less than we used to, and we might be taking medications that interact with alcohol. This means the same amount of drinks that might have given us a nice buzz at 30 could leave us seriously impaired at 65. The casinos know this. They're not just giving you free drinks. They're giving you free drinks at precisely the strength needed to impair your judgment while keeping you functional enough to keep gambling. I've watched bartenders get specific instructions about pour sizes for different demographics. And this leads to the most dangerous part. When you're impaired, 3 things happen that casinos absolutely love. First, you lose track of money. Bills and chips stop feeling like real money. You'll bet amounts you would never consider sober. Second, you lose track of time even more than the environment already causes. Hours disappear in an alcoholic haze. Third, and worst of all, you become overconfident in your abilities. I can't tell you how many times I've watched someone who was playing cautiously with $20 bets suddenly start betting $100 per hand after a couple of drinks. They'll tell me they've figured out the system or they're feeling lucky, but what they're really feeling is drunk. There's a retired teacher named Margaret who used to come in occasionally. Lovely woman, very sharp, always played within her means. But one evening, she accepted a few too many drinks from the cocktail waitress. I watched her go from her usual $5 blackjack bets to $50 bets, convinced she could feel when the cards were going to be good. She lost her entire month's entertainment budget in 2 hours. The next week, she came back sober and asked me what happened. When I gently explained that she'd been drinking quite a bit, she was horrified. She had no clear memory of most of the evening. The alcohol had basically stolen her ability to make rational decisions about money. And here's something particularly insidious. Casinos often serve stronger drinks to older customers. They'll tell you it's because you can handle your liquor better than these young kids. But the real reason is that they want maximum impairment in minimum time. They know you're more likely to have medication interactions or lower tolerance, and they use that against you. The dealers are specifically trained to keep conversation going with intoxicated players, to keep them engaged and betting. We're taught to be extra friendly, to laugh at their jokes, to make them feel like the casino is the most fun place in the world. But it's all performance, designed to keep the money flowing while your defenses are down, which sets you up perfectly for the final and most manipulative trick of all. This last trick exploits something all of us crave more as we get older. This is the trick that bothers me most, because it's the cruelest one. It takes advantage of something basic and human, our need for connection and friendship, and weaponizes it against us. And as someone who performed this manipulation for over 2 decades, I can tell you exactly how it works. That friendly dealer who's chatting with you about your grandkids, asking about your day, celebrating when you win, and commiserating when you lose. We're trained actors, and every word we say is calculated to keep you playing longer and betting more money. During dealer training, they don't just teach you how to run the games. They teach you psychology. We learn how to read people, how to build rapport, how to make customers feel special and important. They literally gave us scripts for different types of players. Lonely widow. Script number 1. Bored retiree. Script number 2. Celebrating anniversary. Script number 3. I was taught to remember personal details about regular customers, not because I cared, though many of us genuinely did come to care about our regulars, but because personal connection equals more money. If Dorothy tells me about her sick cat on Tuesday, I'm supposed to ask about the cat when she comes in Thursday. If Frank mentions his grandson's baseball game, I follow up on the score. And they specifically target something we need more of at this stage of life: social interaction and friendship. The casinos know that many older adults are dealing with loneliness. Maybe you've lost a spouse. Maybe your kids live far away. Maybe you're just tired of spending days at home with no one to talk to. The casino becomes your social club, and the dealers become your friends. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. We're not your friends. We're salespeople. Highly trained, very effective salespeople whose product is hope and whose commission comes from your losses. Every smile, every laugh, every moment of connection is designed to keep you in that seat, feeding money into our casino. Let me tell you about a conversation that changed everything for me. I was talking to a veteran dealer named Mike during our break, and I asked him how he dealt with the guilt of taking money from lonely elderly customers. He looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Guilt? Kid, we're actors in a show. The moment you start thinking of these people as friends instead of customers, you're in the wrong business." That's when I realized what we really were. Professional manipulators who happen to deal cards on the side. The training goes deep. We're taught to give you just enough bad advice to help the house edge, but delivered in such a friendly way that you think we're helping you. "Oh, you should definitely split those tens. I have a feeling the next cards are going to be good." We know that's terrible advice, but we say it with a smile, and you trust us because we're your friend. We're taught to encourage you to bet bigger when you're winning. Ride that hot streak, you're on fire tonight. We're taught to encourage you to bet more when you're losing. Don't worry, your luck's about to turn around. Either way, we want you betting more money. But here's why this hits our generation so hard. When you're retired and maybe dealing with social isolation, that fake friendship feels real. The dealer knows your name, asks about your family, seems genuinely happy to see you. For a few hours, you feel important and valued and connected. I remember a regular customer named Harold, whose wife had passed away the year before. He started coming in every day, playing low-stakes poker for hours. Not because he loved gambling, but because our poker room was the only place where people knew his name and seemed glad to see him. He was essentially paying $50, $100 a day for companionship. Harold would tell me about his loneliness, about how quiet his house was, about how much he missed having someone to talk to. And I'd listen and nod and sympathize, all while taking his money. The casino had become his primary social outlet, and we encouraged that dependence because it was profitable. The dealers are specifically trained to identify vulnerable customers, recent widows and widowers, people going through divorces, folks dealing with health scares. We learn to spot the emotional vulnerabilities and exploit them. Someone mentions they're lonely, we make extra effort to chat with them. Someone says they're bored in retirement, we make the casino seem like the most exciting place in town. And the tips system ensures that we're financially motivated to keep you losing. The longer you play and the more you bet, the more you tip. We're literally paid to be fake friends who encourage your financial losses. The worst part is that many dealers eventually start to believe their own act. They genuinely think they're providing a valuable service by being friendly to lonely customers. They don't see themselves as predators. They see themselves as social workers with card-dealing skills. But the casino management knows exactly what's happening. They track which dealers generate the most revenue from customers, and those are the ones who get promoted and get the best shifts. The most effective manipulators are rewarded, while dealers who are too honest or who genuinely try to help customers make better decisions get moved to graveyard shifts, dealing to empty rooms. Now that you know all 5 tricks, here's what you need to do about it. Knowing these tricks isn't enough. You need a battle plan before you ever step foot in a casino. Because here's the thing about psychological manipulation. Even when you know it's happening, it can still work. These techniques are that powerful. Let me give you the defense strategies that I wish every customer knew. Strategies that can turn a potentially devastating experience into harmless entertainment. First, and this is crucial, set time alarms on your phone before you start playing. Set one for every hour. When it goes off, you have to get up and walk outside. No exceptions. Look at the sky. Check what time it is. Remember that there's a world outside those walls. The time distortion trick only works when you stay immersed in their environment. Second, bring cash only and leave your cards in the car. Or better yet, at home. Decide before you go how much you can afford to lose. And I mean truly afford to lose. Money that won't affect your bills or your lifestyle. If it disappears completely. When that money is gone, you're done. No exceptions, no just one more 20. I recommend using the entertainment budget method. Ask yourself how much you'd spend on a movie, dinner, and drinks for an evening out. That's your casino budget. You're paying for entertainment, not trying to make money. The moment you start thinking of gambling as an investment or a way to solve financial problems, you're in dangerous territory. Third, eat a full meal before you go in, and alternate alcoholic drinks with water or soft drinks. The impairment trick only works when you're drinking on an empty stomach or drinking more than you realize. Set a limit, maybe 1 drink per hour maximum, and stick to it religiously. Fourth, remember that every employee in that casino is paid to separate you from your money. I don't care how friendly they seem, how much they appear to care about your life, or how much insider advice they give you. They are not your friends. Their paycheck depends on you losing money. Treat every interaction as a business transaction, because that's what it is. Fifth, and this might be the most important one, find real social connections outside the casino. If you're gambling because you're lonely or bored, you're setting yourself up for exploitation. Join community groups, volunteer, take classes, reconnect with old friends. The casino will never fill the hole left by genuine human connection. Here's a practical exercise I recommend. Before you go to a casino, write yourself a letter. Write it when you're completely sober and thinking clearly. In this letter, remind yourself of all the tricks you now know about. Remind yourself of your limits and your budget. Describe why you're going. Is it for entertainment, or are you hoping to solve problems? Be brutally honest. Then, when you're in the casino and feeling the urge to stay longer or bet more, go to the bathroom and read that letter. It's like having the sober, rational version of yourself whispering in your ear while the casino is trying to manipulate you. I also recommend the buddy system, if possible. Go with someone who knows about your limits and has permission to literally drag you out when you've reached them. Give them your car keys and your credit cards. Make them your accountability partner. And please, educate yourself about the warning signs of problem gambling. If you find yourself going to casinos more often than you plan, if you're hiding your gambling from family members, if you're chasing losses with bigger bets, if you're borrowing money to gamble, these are red flags that need immediate attention. The National Council on Problem Gambling has a helpline, 1-800-522-4700. There's no shame in calling them if gambling has stopped being fun and started being a compulsion. Remember, casinos bank on you for getting these lessons the moment you walk through those doors. They're counting on the excitement and the atmosphere to override your rational thinking. But now you're armed with inside knowledge that took me 23 years in the industry to learn. The house always has an edge in the games themselves. That's how they stay in business. But you don't have to give them an additional edge by falling for their psychological tricks. You can enjoy yourself without being exploited, but only if you go in with your eyes wide open and your defenses up. One final thought. If you find that you can't enjoy gambling anymore now that you know how these tricks work, that's probably a good thing. It means you're seeing the situation clearly instead of through the casino's manipulative lens. There are thousands of ways to have fun and socialize that don't involve risking your financial security. The choice is yours, but at least now it's an informed choice. Which trick surprised you most? Share your casino stories below and subscribe for more insider secrets.